Cliff.
Hey, Cliff.
And hi, Naomi.
Hi, Naomi. Welcome. We're going to get started. I'm Pam Hoffman, Everyday Spacer.
I'm Jeff Miller, CME Computer and IT Solutions.
At Everyday Spacer, we show regular folks how to personally and directly participate in space exploration, science, and astronomy. Hi, Dawn.
And
Scott. Hey, Scott. Welcome back. We're here on Friday nights at 9 p.m. Pacific Time, 12 midnight Eastern Time, and 2 p.m. on Saturday in Queensland, Australia. We're broadcasting live from Thousand Oaks, California. Thank you so much for being here. Before we get going, I wanted to make a response to the women's suborbital trip, because I've heard a lot of negative things, but have you ever taken a plane anywhere? You can thank a Katy Perry from way back when. The pre-airline industry got a real boost from paying customers, and Jeff told me something I forgot too before.
Well, the thing that led to airlines really was post office basically funding airplanes to go cross country, but the airplanes wouldn't have been up to snuff for that if there weren't for the rich people doing stunts,
just like we're seeing with,
and just like we saw with cars. Basically, it was a rich man's toy.
Mm-hmm.
And only the rich had them, but the need to fulfill that led to more people being able to get them.
So if you got a car, or you took an airline ride somewhere, yeah, we're just seeing it all over again with a new group of people. And you have an experience like that, you're going to have a reaction. And I think it's a very personal reaction that these people were, going public with it. Well, that just says that they're open to that. But I can't believe how many people are just like really dissing that. It seems ridiculous to me. And let's let it fund this industry instead of being so dependent upon the government for all the financial needs of a spacefaring society. Yeah, we got more.
Yeah. Janie.
Hey, Janie, welcome. All right, so let's see. We're here, right?
Yep.
Tonight's episode, we're going to be doing Next Generation Space Station. We'll be back in 8.3 seconds. There's a link to that book in the description.
You almost did it, didn't you?
I almost did it. So what happens once the International Space Station is decommissioned and deorbited? About 9 potential space station systems are on the drawing board, and during this episode, we'll delve into each of them and discuss the likelihood of them leaving the blueprints and actually being built. Jeff, what do we have to look forward to after the International Space Station? We got more comments?
Yeah.
We can start there.
We found a list of 9, but there's actually 10, but
I didn't know.
A few of them are non-issues nowadays. But
God.
Yeah, Dawn says people choose the all-women flight to complain about what's been happening for years. I agree. It's a chance. Well, they used it as a chance to vent politics, and so other people are using it as a chance to
there were some other complaints about previous flights, but yeah, it's like, say hooray for us, because that's going to get us closer and closer to actually having a chance to go ourselves for a nominal price ticket, just like we can on airplanes right now. It's very cost effective to take an airplane ride almost anywhere in the world.
Right. And it's interesting that the previous ones are vented on because it's rich people going up. This time they're venting on it because it's women going up. And I don't see any point in that. The only thing that I would complain about this flight was that they excluded men specifically. But whatever. I don't, that's a minor annoyance, not a.
And I don't think it's going to be the norm. I don't think it's going to be the norm.
Yeah, I think that people seem to need to have the sky falling. But whatever. I don't need to, and so I can ignore them.
All right, you want to go ahead and... Oh, am I sharing?
Yeah, sure.
All right, here we go.
Okay. A couple of different times I've shown this article from BBC Sky at Night magazine about 9 space stations of the future that will carry the baton once the International Space Station is deorbited.
And I guess I should have mentioned this is a follow-on from 2-3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
When you did the initial space
Right.
station episode.
And there was one before that, about half a year ago, where I found this article and was like, hey, we should do a show on these. And that didn't happen. Then we saw it again last, a couple of weeks ago and thought, hey, we should do a show on this. We're doing it. We're doing it. Yeah. So the 9 space stations, and I'll show them here and go into depth. One of them I won't really deal with much, the Tiangong space station of China, because quite frankly, we don't know and won't know much about it because we'll only find out what the Chinese tell us about it. So it's going to be low information and not necessarily high quality information that we get about it. So
that's how it was with the Russians. But then afterwards, we did learn about things. So
right, yeah.
Maybe in the future, at some point, we'll learn about Tiangong.
Because they've already got a space station up there, and it's and they have it at a higher orbit just to say neater. Okay, whatever. Will there be any other people on there except Chinese people? Probably not, unless it's unless it's maybe their syphilic nephew, North Korea.
Oh, and Cliff says so. That's what all the fuss.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know who they are.
Oh,
Katy Perry's a singer.
Yeah, it's a bunch of people that
she's getting the most noise.
Right. Jeff Bezos's girlfriend was on there.
Oh, right.
And the others, I don't know.
She's probably going to go again.
Yeah, I have no idea who they are.
If you got a chance to go on your girlfriend's, would you go? Your boyfriend's? Hell's yeah.
Yeah. And, so I suspect the other 3.
It's just so rules, not like,
Yeah, I suspect the other 3 are famous for being famous. And since I don't pay attention to that, I have no idea who they are.
No, I don't know who they are either.
So the Chinese one, I'm not really going to talk about because we'll only know what they tell us. Maybe after the fact, we'll find out something, but I really don't think so. Their government structure is different from the Russian government structure. So,
okay.
I think that secrets will be buried with whoever knows the secrets.
Okay.
Axiom Space is the first one that we'll talk about. And I've got some tabs up here. Of course, the wiki page.
I've seen that before, too.
Yeah. Most of these have a wiki page.
Oh, that's good.
And this is actually has a fairly decent chance of going. Not all of these have a high chance of launching.
All right.
But Axiom Space CEO Michael T. Safrandini was previously the program manager for the International Space Station from 2005 to 2015. So he does know something about about this. So
okay.
He is coming. Now, are they just patting the board to get funding? Maybe. And that's the thing that we'll have to watch out for all of these. Are they just getting design grants and soaking the money?
Okay.
We won't know until stuff gets built. But Axios has actually built stuff.
Oh, cool.
Just not what they're saying here. But they are planning on starting off with they were going to have, let's see what Dawn has to say.
You're right. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't want to interrupt. So Dawn says, I believe Jeff Bezos' wife, I thought it was his girlfriend, wanted the all-moon flight. Okay. I agree that this opens it up for everyday people.
Yeah. I agree too.
Seems to be following the trajectory.
Yeah.
And I wrote a paper on this at CSU, Cleveland State University, like 30 some years ago. So
yeah, I just don't agree with an anything flight. I just don't like that. But hey, whatever. It's not.
Well, if your girlfriend, requested something, you'd probably.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Cave.
I would do it too. Yeah.
Let her do it.
Yeah.
All right, back to your.
I'd be trying to film a porno in it then if my girlfriend
God.
wanted an all-women
Wait,
flight.
This isn't that kind of show.
So I won't. Since this isn't that kind of show, I won't go into scene direction, right?
Okay.
But okay. So the Axiom segment was supposed to have a number of different segments attached to the ISS.
Oh,
and then they were supposed to separate off before they deorbit the ISS. So their plan was to get a leg up by actually starting off attached to the ISS
that
and
makes a
then
lot of
disconnect.
sense.
Yeah, it does. And so,
Doing the thing.
that's why I'm thinking that this has a good chance. This has one of the better chances of flying.
I do like that to
hmm
to build on the infrastructure that's already there, and
Yeah.
then move beyond that. Yeah,
So
good plan.
this requires them to actually launch before, the ISS is deorbited.
Yeah, it's got a few years left.
yeah.
Assuming it lasts.
Yeah.
For one thing.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of issues.
Right. Yeah. But in December of last year, so not too long ago, Axiom Space revised their station assembly plans to require only the first module, the payload power thermal module, to dock with the ISS before separating in 2028.
Ah, so they got a little behind schedule.
Yeah, to join with the Habitat 1 module in a separate orbit. So, but if they can get this, get it up there, then they're a step ahead. They'll actually have something in space,
Yeah.
to build on. And then you get the sunk cost fallacy, getting them extra funding because they've already got something there. But so before it retires, they're going to separate it and start launching other modules.
Boy, if that window works, that's quite the.
Yeah, a glass wall cupola,
Wow.
which is actually, I think, being designed by a French design firm.
Okay.
But they've sent a number of missions up to the ISS already.
Axiom, yeah.
Yeah, so they are very active. So it's not like they're coming out of left field with a bunch of PowerPoints.
And I think a lot of startups really rely on a strong management team.
Mm-hmm.
You think, oh, it's the scientists. Well, yeah, they can only do so much, though. You really need good management.
You need both.
Yeah, you need both. Right?
I mean, without the scientists, you're kind of pushing PowerPoints. Without the management, you're not taking the PowerPoints and going anywhere.
Yeah.
So, Axiom 1, a number of launches. They've had a number of launches, not their own vehicles. They launch their stuff on top of SpaceX boosters. So the real winner in the next space station is going to be SpaceX because they're the ones. Almost all of these guys are being launched by SpaceX.
Kind of like the 49ers going to California and the guys who ran the stores got rich.
Right, yeah.
Got it.
I think that SpaceX is going to...
They're going to be the store
store
owner.
Yeah, they're the ones. Because if you look at all of the space station designs, almost all of them are long tubes attached to each other. Why? Because they have to go on a rocket.
Yeah.
And so that's going to, and maybe we've talked sort of about it, but maybe we'll get into, in a later episode, shapes of space stations. Because the long tube is about all you're going to get till we start building in space. Not just Lego assembly, but actually building. Because
it's all based on the horses, right?
Right, yeah. Because once we can start building, then we can build other shapes.
Okay.
But
actual structural things like we build a building here.
Yeah.
They're not all tubes. They're built from pieces, parts, bricks.
You're not going to
girders.
Build the ring station. You're not going to launch a ring station.
No.
You're going to have to build the parts of it.
And even better, in my opinion, you take the tools out to the asteroids and use them for
or
your raw materials.
At least the moon.
The moon.
And then start off there.
Okay.
So
it's closer, right?
Yeah, much closer. And it's cheaper to get stuff from the moon into low Earth orbit than it is to get. And there's an argument for doing it into low Earth orbit from the moon instead of lunar orbit.
Okay.
Because since the Earth has higher gravity, an Earth orbit is more stable than a lunar orbit.
Oh, okay.
The Earth kind of will tug and pull at anything in lunar orbit.
Ah, okay.
And it
There's
just
got to be Lagrange points there too, though, with the moon and
Yeah.
the Earth system.
well, yeah, L4 and L5.
Mm,
It's just it is more
Okay.
expensive to get there.
Okay.
But you can do it. There's an unstable one between Earth and the moon, but the gravity's so light there that it's very unstable. You put something
Okay.
there, it'll stay, but any kind of nudge, including solar wind, will pull
Oh.
it, will knock it out, and then it gets even further and further out. But so we're stuck with tubes. Bigelow had inflatables, which are
Mhm.
kind of tubes that can become something else, some other shape. But unfortunately, they're no longer in the game.
Ah, okay.
I kind of
Thought
figured
they were
that
sort of out, but not quite.
it was kind of a rom-com situation of are they or aren't they?
Okay.
But it's pretty much they're kind of done.
Okay.
They did not actually even submit a plan for the latest round. So,
Oh.
so they're out unless they get outside funding. They're not getting funding from NASA.
I see. That's too bad.
Kind of too bad.
Thought they had a good chance at.
Yeah. Neat idea.
It takes a
just
lot of
doesn't-
things to have a startup
Right.
really
Now-
gel and work out.
Now, could they make modules for someone else's station?
Oh.
Quite possibly.
Okay.
I mean, they were looking at doing that for ISS, but I think ISS is just too long in the tooth for that to really be viable. But, hey,
Yeah, it's headed to the end of its life.
yeah. So
Oh, wait, you want me to show?
it just, yeah, I'll get down to here because they've had a number of launches, and these are all of their launches from 2022, 2023, 24, and their next one is second quarter, which is coming up real soon. Actually, next month is the beginning of second quarter. No, we're in second quarter. We're in second quarter.
Yeah, January, March is first quarter. April, May, June is the second quarter.
Yeah, so we're in the middle of it. Well, I don't know how old this page is. How recently but it still says planned. So they're also talking about space suits. I really don't think they'll do that because that sidelined a number of different companies trying to design their own space suits.
They're pretty different things.
Yeah, they're better off sticking in their lane and letting someone else do that. And there's what Axiom has to say. They've got, doing their own mock-ups of it. It's not like any of these stations are going to have a lot of room. But so this is their roadmap for like their initial station, the PPTM, which is going to be attached to the ISS and then deorbited. Basically, they'll launch Hab 1 and then move the PPTM to it.
Do they give approximate size? Like, is this a school bus or is this a van or is this a?
Probably somewhere in there.
It's a little bit bigger than a van.
But remember, it has
people there.
It has to fit on a Dragon booster, or not Dragon, but
Falcon 9 or something.
Yeah, Falcon 9 or Starliner. It has to fit on a booster. The airlock, probably some of the smaller modules will launch together would be my guess. There's no point in just launching an airlock,
Okay.
But Hab 2 and the RMF, which is the Research Manufacturing with Earth Observatory.
Don says, I think other companies are working on the blow-up module concept. I hadn't heard.
Yeah, I hadn't heard either. And if they do, I hope that Bigelow gets money for that because they've been pushing that since the 90s.
Yeah, I'd have to look.
I remember going to some of Henry Spencer's
mm-hmm.
things, and they were there.
Right.
So.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
Yeah. So, and then NASA talks about it. They don't say anything really different. Just NASA talks about it. They all have slightly different pictures here, but with various arrangements of solar arrays and basically heat dissipation.
Okay.
the name.
Radiators.
Radiators. Yes, the word went away.
It's okay.
So here's another thing.
Either one of us or our
Yeah.
audience will help us.
Yeah. Okay. Here's another thing that's in the works from Axiom. Orbiting data centers.
Okay.
This has nothing to do with their space station, but they're planning on launching a couple of data centers that will link up with Earth observing satellites and process the data from them, or pre-process it so that they all don't have to talk to the Earth and back. They can talk to each other, process the data, and then send it to Earth.
Huh.
So neat. Not really part of this, but hey, there you go. I found this.
Like kind of a different thing as well.
Yeah.
Too much diversification is not great.
Yeah. But if they have a contract for this, then cool, and that helps.
And if they can get enough people in different teams to work on, that might do it.
Right. So that's something. Yeah. So this is another article talking about how they're planning on breaking away from the ISS sooner than expected. That's going with a single module instead of multiple modules. The next one up is orbital reef.
Okay.
This is another one that is a maybe.
Hey, were they at the space
ISDC?
Yeah, ISDC. Were they there last year?
Yeah.
I thought so.
Yeah. Blue Origin and Sierra Space are working on this. However, I've seen mixed signals about Blue Origin in this.
Oh.
Some have said that it's dead. Others not dead, because one of the things is that they just qualified not too long ago for the next phase, with NASA. Okay. So they're at least doing enough to stay in the race. Whether they'll actually make it to the finish line, they're at least earning the next round of funding.
Okay.
I don't know if they'll make it up, but hey, if we get more than one up, that's a good thing, I think. Mixed use business park in space. If you notice, these look like inflatables.
They look like the Bigelow ones.
Yeah, because these are the tubes that would launch on rockets, and these would be inflatables, which I think is a good idea because there's only so much you can do in a tube. I mean, that living in tubes is kind of not a great way to live.
How about the confidence factor, though? Is that going to be an issue for people? Like, yeah, I don't want to go in there. It's just an inflatable.
But a tube is just a skin of aluminum. I mean, think of an empty soda can. Yeah, think of a soda can. An inflatable actually, to me, is a little bit more stable.
Okay, all right. Just feels iffy sometimes to me.
Yeah. And
of course, it depends on what it's made out of.
Right.
Do you give it to the contractor that paid with the least?
Right.
I mean, and the lowest bid. Yeah.
And if you've got multiple layers in the inflatable, well, even in a hard cylinder, but more so in an inflatable, they can be sort of self-sealing.
Okay.
Because since it's an inflatable, the layers can possibly move against each other. And so a small hole that goes through multiple layers, if they move a little bit, they cover it.
It could sort of seal itself up.
Yeah. So it's not as, whereas a hard surface, even if they have multiple layers, they're not going anywhere relative to each other.
That's true.
So,
just feels like it's going to be an education task to get to anybody who wants to go out comfortable with doing so.
I don't have any more hesitancy to do this as I would any of the rest of it, because I'm not really into roughing it. I mean, when they have I'll even take a 3-star hotel. If they have a 3-star hotel or better up there, yeah, I'll go.
Okay.
It doesn't need to be a 5-star hotel.
All right.
But even a 3-star hotel or better.
No 10-minute up and back for you, huh?
10 minutes? Oh, that's not too bad.
Okay. Well, that's the Blue Origin suborbital. So
yeah. Now, JP's launcher, okay. If he taking a week to get up there or whatever, 3 or 4 days, if it's comfortable enough, sure, why not?
Plenty of room.
Yeah.
For the
yeah,
claustrophobic.
But he does. At least the PowerPoints show windows in it. I don't know if
Well,
if
that's
they'll
not
actually
what you're
have.
showing. Isn't JP's? That's...
No, I know. I'm just throwing that out there as a
Oh,
different
okay.
way of getting
All
up
right.
there, a
Yeah.
slow way of getting up there.
Right. He's got a station in play too, right? Did you have that on your list?
No, because it's apparently not in the actually thinking it'll happen phase.
Okay.
And it's not actually orbital either.
That's true.
Remember, the dark sky station
Sort of
sits on that.
sits above the pole.
Yeah, does a circle around the pole, but it sits on the top of the atmosphere. It floats.
Right.
So they've got this is Sierra Space's orbital reef thing. So they've got their own thing, and then Blue Origin has their thing on it.
There's some inflatable looking things there too.
Yeah, right there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, that's all good because you get away. Okay, it's a wider tube, but at least it's you've got some elbow room in that.
Yeah.
And they've got some pretty pictures. I don't think that anything that actually gets made will have that much glass in it, but hey.
Isn't there transparent aluminum already?
Yes, but
I think we have that already.
Yeah. Go ahead, hold your breath. Okay, so. And then NASA talks about it again. Again, I don't see that many windows in something.
Well, not that huge. But even airplane windows are pretty small.
Compared to the size of that person, it's a wall. It's a wall of glass.
Okay. Did the NASA articles have anything new for?
Not really.
Not really. Okay.
Basically they awarded it to Blue Origin.
Okay.
Blue Origin then teamed up with Sierra Space, I think, to save the program. But hey. The next one is Starlab, which kind of they're riffing off of the name of Skylab, which was one of our first.
It did make me think of Skylab.
Yeah. This is a joint venture between the U.S. company Voyager Technologies, formerly Voyager Space, and the majority shareholder in NanoRex.
Okay.
And European company Airbus, which is interesting to me because Airbus is making their own.
Okay.
So they might be hedging their bets.
NanoRex has been very successful, so that's a good sign.
Mm-hmm. So their plan is to launch before the decommissioning of the ISS, but no earlier than 2028.
Okay.
So that gives them a 2-year window to actually get up there and meet their goal.
Yeah.
But hey, we'll see. It was proposed. I don't know that these guys have the chops to actually do it, but hey, I mean, they got grant. They sounded good enough for NASA to give them 160 million. With 2 other teams, the Blue Origin team, which basically teamed up with Sierra Space, which was Sierra Nevada Corporation. Also, Boeing and Redwire are part of the Blue Origin group.
Oh.
Northrop.
I don't know what Redwire is.
I don't know either. Northrop Grumman has their own station, which we'll see about later, and Dynetics, which sounds very much like something else. So these are the 3 companies that NASA funded to go up. So they at least talked a good enough talk to get going. And this station
paperwork.
And this station,
there'd be a lot.
Yeah, this state, yeah, they have experts in making paper. It's a docking node module surrounded by a large inflatable module. So there again, like as you said, that the inflatables are being used by a number of people. It was originally developed in the 1990s by NASA during the Transhab project.
Wow.
But Bigelow then took it and ran with it. and it's to be built by Lockheed Martin and by a service module providing, you know, energy, solar panels, and propulsion. Um, so yeah, Don, a number of these are using inflatables. I really hope Bigelow's getting some money from this, although they didn't originate the idea, so maybe not, you know. Um, so Airbus is involved. Um, I don't know why, but okay. You know, it would be a fairly diverse project then, with, you know, different companies.
That's
And
okay.
we've got their
Yeah.
own. Now this looks fairly dinky, but if you notice that the tube is here and the rest of this is an inflatable.
Wow.
So it's bigger around than it looks.
Does not look like an inflatable either.
Yeah.
Huh.
So I don't know. They might inflate it and then put hard sides on it.
Ah, okay.
That'd be actually not a bad idea.
Right.
And then again, this is from Voyager, which is one of the ones involved in this. Starlab Partners.
So, like anything else in this industry, they're very woven web into.
Yeah. Space cooperation, because companies working together, but it is
takes a lot to.
It is one of the smaller proposed stations, though, and it puts it on the size of Skylab.
Okay.
You know, so 8 meters in height and diameter. So, 26 feet.
Okay.
Not terrible, but not going to be, the coziest. Then here.
Actually, it sounds like it is going to be cozy.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay. Northrop Grumman, again, is one of the ones that proposed a space station and got funding for it, but it's looks like they're going to be out.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately.
That's like reminiscent of the International Space Station.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, a lot of it, because the International Space Station was not a bad overall design, assuming the limitation of taking up cylinders. I mean, it was a pretty decent design, and this is designed to possibly be expandable. And
I think it's the cooperation aspect too, so that first of all, these countries are working together, but second of all, they pooled their resources. If just one company is going to try and do this, I think that's going to be pretty hard.
Right. Yeah. So, but of course, the same ones who are saying that Northrop's going to be gone are saying that Blue Origin and its primary partner on Orbital Reef, Sierra Space, were reevaluating their partnership as it was on rocky footing.
Oh.
So, Orbital Reef and the Northrop Grumman may not make it.
Okay. Yeah, there's always a shakeout of this kind of thing.
Yeah. And we've got
you put together your pieces right.
Yeah.
It works, but
they Voyager Space announces teaming agreement with Northrop Grumman for the Starlab space station. So it looks like Northrop Grumman might be dropping their own to work with Voyager Space to work on the Starlab.
Okay.
So
it's a good idea.
Yeah. So we might not see both of theirs. We might just see them teaming up. So not a bad idea. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like it.
Yeah. So
more resources, more different points of view. As long as I can match, because we don't like to see that again.
Right. Yeah. But they are talking about using Northrop Grumman's Cygnus cargo vehicle to send non-human cargo up to it. So, because Northrop Grumman does have the rockets, we don't hear much about them, about the Northrop Grumman rockets, because they don't make the news as much. And I suspect that they probably do a lot of military payloads,
Ah,
although SpaceX is starting to do that too. But Northrop Grumman's been part of the military group for a long time, so they tend to keep really quiet about a lot of things. I mean, but James Webb was probably the first really big thing that they were public about.
well, and I think a lot of the Vanguard companies like Boeing and them would have parts of for commercial as well as for government, so that if either one of them kind of stopped being very lucrative, they had some backup. So
Right, and
sometimes when one was doing well, the other was not,
Right.
and vice versa.
and then they could separate out the peoples too, so that they could make sure that the talkers aren't in the government side.
I can't speak to that, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
Assuming you know who those people are.
Yeah. Well, I think you hear them. Okay, so
Yes.
yeah.
Still.
Okay, this is here. This is a list of commercial space stations on Wiki. So the Axiom Orbital Reef is still listed there. Starlab is listed there. Haven 1, which we'll get to, is listed there by VAST, and Haven 2. So VAST, which we'll get to in a little bit, has 2 stations that that is planning.
Okay.
Then canceled. Now they're saying Bigelow, which we kind of knew about, and they're saying Northrop Grumman, which I think that's because Northrop Grumman is going into the space lab and just ditching their own one. Now the one that interests me a lot,
I hadn't heard that. Northrop Grumman had an explosion at their solid rocket factory this week.
Wow, that could be bad.
Yeah.
Here's one that's on the list. Indian space station.
Oh, cool.
India's planning on its own space station.
Yeah, they spend a remarkable amount of their GDP on space exploration.
Yeah.
Yeah, for such a small economy.
Right. Well, they have a lot of people there, and they're trying to upskill the workforce. And so doing projects like this is essentially a works program for, getting people who can do this sort of thing. It's encouraging people there to get into this stuff. So if they actually launch something, it means that they'll have, it could be their own Apollo mission, essentially, for what it did to the US, it might do for them.
Cool.
So that'd be really neat. Now, and one of the things about all of these space stations is that they're not either ors. It's not like just because we get one, we won't get another.
Okay.
Now, we will see some consolidation, just like Northrop Grumman and a couple of the others have consolidated a bit. But, so I would imagine that even if we have ours, the Indians will likely have theirs. The Chinese will have theirs, of course, because why not?
Yeah.
But if they can get their own up, which I still don't know if this is a really going concern or if this is just a look at me.
Yeah, because the Indians, I'm gonna say they're in earnest for sure.
They very well might be. It's just that I remember a time I was in college, and then shortly after that, when they would publish papers that had total BS, but they were clickbait.
Oh.
And just to get headlines. And then it would be disproven in 3 weeks, but no one would see the headlines for it being disproven. So
got it.
It'd be nice, but is my thought on these.
So more Indians than Chinese.
Yep. Yeah.
I didn't quite realize that.
Yeah.
3 billion Chinese, and how many in India?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of people in India. And
it's a smaller country than China too.
Not much, but more of it's habitable.
Oh.
There's a good chunks of China that are.
Seems like China's huge.
It is huge, but and then how many of the people in China are considered Chinese? We know the Uyghurs aren't, because they're being wiped out.
Yeah.
Oh,
am I sharing again?
Sure.
Okay.
2023, NASA Administrator Bill Nelson expressed NASA's readiness to support India's goal of building a commercial space station by 2040.
Right on.
If India seeks such collaboration, meaning we'll work with them if they ask us. I don't think they've asked us yet, which,
okay.
Kind of good for them. So I want to actually see them succeed.
Yeah.
Because I think that'd be really good.
I think it'd be awesome.
And they've got a lot of, they're actually doing a lot of research for this. They've got, they're to launch the Bartia. I probably killed that word. And not going to even try.
Don says, I know India is working on human spaceflight.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Yay. And
if you look at the design, hey, it looks kind of like ISS because, of course, it's a bunch of tubes. They've also got an inflatable, which is interesting. So, but like talked about, everything's going to be tubes.
Cliff says, imagine the smell on the Indian station. I'd be hungry all the time.
Yeah, you kind of have to make sure that those spices don't get too airborne because that'd probably be bad.
Irritant.
Yeah. Yeah. But hey.
Interesting idea.
Yeah.
We should explore food in some, I don't know. I think we talked about it a little bit, but.
Yeah. Yeah. Now.
What would the Indians bring up?
Yeah. So wood of the first module, 8 ton, 5 modules, total weight of the first phase. And so this is only the first phase. They do plan on growing it.
Cool.
Second module is an inflatable habitat module.
Okay.
So that's I like seeing multiple things. I like seeing something other than tubes. So configuration, base module,
Totally
core
module.
Yeah. Science module, lab module.
Oh, it's the poppadoms you have to watch? I don't know what that is.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know enough about Indian food. I'm assuming it's a spice or one of the dishes. But,
is it food or is it
spice?
An inflatable?
Yeah.
Because that word, poppadoms, makes me think.
Well, you eat enough of that Indian food and you will have an inflatable.
Oh, boy. On with the show.
You sure?
Yes, please.
They intend for it to be a refueling station for lunar, Martian, and Venusian exploration.
Smart.
Yeah. Now, will they need refueling for lunar? I don't know. It'd be smart, especially if they can make fuel on the moon, because then all they have to do is launch into low Earth orbit from Earth, because it's much cheaper it's much more expensive to get fuel to low Earth orbit from Earth than it is from the moon.
Right.
20 times more expensive to get it from Earth.
Ah. So. Oh.
Yeah.
Thank you, Cliff. Like a corn chip made differently.
Okay.
Guess I'll have to look that up. Fascinating.
To me, that sounds like a bugle, but you might not know what that is. And I don't think modern, the young kids around here know what those are.
I think they're still around, but they're not.
But those of us who are kids in the 70s in the U.S. know what they are. Mm-hmm. So they've got a lot of stuff here.
Cool.
And this is from IndianSpaceTechnology.com. So it's, they have their own online space magazine. So this is
nice.
Yeah.
Looks like there's several tabs up there to explore.
Yeah, there are. In fact, you know what? I'm going to put this one out to you guys. Just because there's a lot to see there. I mean, most of the other stuff is either wiki or easy to find. Otherwise, this one might be a little bit harder to find. So
cool.
There you go.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yep. And this is the Airbus Loop.
Okay.
This is their version. Now, it's a big tube, so it might have to be assembled. But I don't know. They might be able to launch this. The difference here with the Airbus one is that this bottom floor of it will actually rotate. They're going to spin this bottom one.
We got two conversations going
Oh
on.
yeah.
You scoop up the curry and rice.
Oh,
Alright.
okay. Yeah.
That sounds like a bugle.
Yeah.
Or a Frito.
Frito. Yeah, that's
Frito
what I was
Lays.
thinking. Frito. Yeah. But now the spinning one looks like it's just basically have people cubicles so that they can exercise or stand in gravity, which
Okay.
now if this was a whole disc spinning, that might actually be more interesting.
Hmm.
But here's the trouble.
Hard to do though.
How do you get into
Apparently.
this from there? Do you de-spin it, load people up and spin it?
Mm.
And what kind of stresses will that put on the station
Yeah.
itself? And
Yeah.
for one thing, spinning something like this will tend to precess,
Mm.
which means
Mhm.
that the station itself
He's doing this.
will start to do this.
Unless you got him going opposite, right?
Right, but they only have one module there.
Okay.
So yes, having counter rotating would minimize that. But they don't.
Unless it goes like
Yeah.
sets up a
Yeah, so I don't know. I think the engineering on this is more dream than
so cartoons.
doable. I think it's more of a cartoon.
That's how we said
So
it
it's a
at
good
Boeing
thing.
when it was just drawings like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So if they manage to make it, cool. That'd be really good. We'd learn a lot. But
Says it looks like a car park complex.
yeah, I know. But because I
Wait. Let me share.
okay. At first I thought that the whole thing spun, and I was thinking, well, all of these panels would then be on the floor. And how do they get at the plants that they're growing?
Mm-hmm.
But nope, it's only the bottom that's spinning.
Okay.
And
They show kind of a okay.
really bad AI drawn people. But you go through the center to to get out. Has an airlock, which is nice because always nice to be able to get out of the vehicle without having to have a spacecraft attached to it like they did with the early ISS. They could only go out on the American side, they could only go out through the space shuttle. So they have the habitation deck here, the science deck, and the centrifuge. Again, it'd be really nice if that works. I don't know. Central tunnel with plants around it. Not enough plants to actually make enough oxygen to care about or enough food to care about, but it helps. And, hey, why? It's a good experiment.
Having fresh stuff is a big difference, I think.
It's a good experiment.
Makes a big difference.
So,
open the door, Hal.
Yes. So, overall diameter is 8 meters. Again, about 26 feet. So that could be launched as is. Well, in fact, they show it inside a fairing right here.
Yeah.
Wow. So 8 meters by 8 meters looks like what they're talking about here. So
sounds like the size of the other one that was inflatable, but it looked like it.
Look what we see right here is their next module.
Balloon.
An inflatable, yes. So I really hope that this doesn't shake itself apart if they actually launch it. But hey, it's good science if they actually get it up there. They'll be able to do some good science about that.
The windows aren't too big, right?
No. So.
Video, neat.
Yeah. Let's see what it's only 41 seconds.
You don't have your sound on though. It might have sound.
Yeah, I think it does. Oh, look at window, but it's not too terribly big. Now the speed that they showed it spinning wasn't high enough to really do much, because I saw another article about it. I don't know if I have it, where they did some math on how much and what kind of spin, and 12.
That's pretty slick.
Yep. Yeah. So here it is. Oh, this might be it. Airbus loop. Yeah, called the Airbus loop. Did they talk about the size of it? I want to see where they talk about the spin. Here we go. According to, they used spin calc and space calc to provide some estimates on how fast this would have to spin to give a specific gravity.
What are those, like online calculators
Yes.
of some sort? Oh,
yeah,
interesting.
there are links in here.
Wow.
Here, I'm going to.
Yeah. Let's try that one. That looks great.
Yeah. I think.
Let's see.
I think these guys, Science Alert, they have some good articles.
Should be a clickable link.
Yep.
Doesn't look like it broke, so
yeah.
Yay.
So they would need to have an angular velocity of 3.86 meters per second, or 12.66 feet per second, and achieve 9.2 rotations per minute. Not too terrible, but still, that's pretty fast for that small of an area to simulate Martian gravity. We're not talking Earth gravity. That's Martian gravity.
Well, that's where you're going. It prepares you in advance for that trip.
Right, and that's one of the things that they talk about. And also, by keeping it this small, it means that they could possibly create a vehicle to go to Mars that would have this in it. So that might be their end goal.
Okay.
To test out equipment for a vehicle to go to Mars.
Okay.
It's possible it could be spun down to 2.55 meters per second, making 6 rotations per minute.
Moon?
To simulate moon gravity. Yep. And 6 rotations per minute would be 10 seconds per rotation. But so that,
that's pretty fast if you think about.
Yeah. But and again, I don't know. You would not want to bend down and pick up something at that speed of a rotation, because the difference in gravity between your head and your feet will be so much that I think you'll get major motion sickness doing that.
Oh, wow.
Or at least your balance would be thrown off. I mean, it's quite possible that if you do it often enough, that you'll learn to compensate for that. But the inner ear really isn't designed for that nonsense. Okay, so again, this is another article from Interesting Engineering, and I've shown this site a lot on other things. They have some good articles on lots of different things. 20 megawatt nuclear reactor to study cancer. Hey, there you go. So lots of good stuff in this. So just look for Interesting Engineering and you'll see some good stuff.
Nice.
Another article, space.com. Nothing really new in this one. Space.com. I like them.
Yep.
So, how long have we run? Okay. We're getting toward the end, so let's power through.
Okay.
VAST. Now, this is one that I think has a decent chance. I don't know. They're in Hawthorne.
Oh, out here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically not too far away from SpaceX.
Got it.
In 2023, they announced that it teamed up with SpaceX to launch its first single module space station called Haven 1 aboard a Falcon 9. No earlier than August 2025, so maybe later this year. Plans were also unveiled for a crewed flight up to Haven 1 called VAST 1 to be launched shortly after placing the station in orbit. VAST plans to sell 4 seats aboard the spacecraft, after which the crew would receive training by SpaceX in preparation for the mission. So they're actually making it to be mostly a tourist, instead of a science one, which is cool because it provides money for it. It's what lets is what lets the science happen. But they have launched vehicles. They launched an orbiter in 2023, but it was improperly spinning at 60 per minute, which is basically one rotation per second. And so as a result, they elected to immediately deploy all the small satellite payloads aboard, and then stated that its primary mission couldn't be accomplished. So that caused the delay of the next one because they probably had to fix the first one. But they actually launched one. It failed, but they launched it, and they're going to learn from it. Yeah, and so
wow, there's a picture of it.
Mock-up.
Yeah, mock-up.
Yeah, mid-February 2024 announced that it's partnering with El Segundo-based company AnySignal, an Irvine-based company. And Irvine-based company TRL-11 and Singaporean company.
Wow.
For providing radio frequency and inter-satellite connectivity for Haven 1. And is going to provide competition to Axiom, because you remember Axiom is, talking about its data center in space. So it looks like they're directly competing with Axiom. And so I think it has a chance.
Cool.
I mean, quite frankly, all they have to do is put it on top of a Falcon 9 and launch it. Then they can call it a success. If they can get people on board, then that's phase 2 success. I mean, now, will it be a huge one? Nope. It's going to be a single module. Now, they have Haven 2 up there, which is going to be bigger and have more modules. And then they plan on building off of Haven 2. They're talking for a 110-meter spinning stick station by the 2030s, and a fully fledged space station fleet by 24. So they're not planning on building
that far
big.
Away.
Yeah, 2040. Yeah, they're not planning on building big. They're planning building lots. So, hey, not all their eggs in one basket. It's small enough that I think it will launch. Will they go past that? Don't know. But, anything that they learn getting up there is a good thing. And this is their own website. This is Vast Space. This is their own website. And this is...
more tubes.
Yeah. This is Haven 2, not Haven 1. Haven 1 is just going to be one of these modules. But this is Haven 2. That's, hey, if they can do it, I'd love it. If there's multiples, up there, why not?
I'm with you on that.
So, and the Haven 1, and again, one module for people to be in, and one probably electrical mechanical module. But nothing really new in that article.
Okay.
Now, Lunar Gateway, another one. And this is the 9th one in the article. But this has the distinction that it's not an Earth orbiter. It's a lunar orbiter.
Okay.
And they call it the Gateway Station because it's supposed to provide support for lunar colonies or lunar exploration.
Okay.
And it's got a lot of participants. NASA, European Space Agency, Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, Canadian, and Dubai. This Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center is Dubai.
I see.
Because, Dubai's really big into investing in stuff because they know that oil won't last forever, so they might as well invest their oil money in stuff that might give them something going in the future. So,
Smart.
so it's set to be a science, science modules.
Okay.
Um, um, the project is expected to play a major role in the Artemis program after 2024, basically because it's supposed to support a moon landing, moon missions. So, you get there and they'll probably have a smaller lander that goes from the station to the moon, would be my guess.
Mm.
And so they shuttle equipment and people here, and then it shuttles people back and forth. That's my guess as to what they're planning. They didn't actually say that, but
Okay.
they've got a nice blow up of the various modules that they're planning. Now this is looking a lot like the ISS in that look at how many different groups are here.
Yeah.
Um,
What is there for space station? Like 15 different
right.
countries, basically.
Right. Yeah. But they've got multiple different groups here.
Right.
Leads me to think that this has a very high chance of happening.
Ah.
It won't be in Earth orbit, but if they can get even one module built, then everyone else can just, slap their modules onto it.
A lot of coordinating in something like that. I mean,
yeah,
you have to be really collaborate. You have to collaborate and communicate well. And
but one of the nice things is that
don't work one in metric and one in imperial.
Yeah.
Please.
Well, I think they're all working in metric right and anymore now. But one of the nice things is that if this support station is truly international, then it means that any missions to the moon will be international.
Oh.
Except for the Chinese, which they'll do their own thing.
Yeah.
But I think most of the Western world will go through this station, coordinate with this, and it'll be a truly international endeavor. Which,
cool.
Hey, I love that.
Yeah.
Because which nation is going to own space? I know. Either none or China. So that's this is my favorite of all the proposals, even though it isn't an Earth station, because they've got so many different groups. They've got and none of it's like new technology. That's another nice thing about it. They're repurposing known technology. So
cool.
And here they're showing that it's orbiting the moon, but it looks like it's doing the spirograph thing from the standpoint of the Earth. Just because it's going around the moon, but since the moon's going around the Earth, that's the kind of thing that it looks like.
Okay.
So it's just, but it's not a circular orbit around the moon, because the moon's gravity is so light that I think they need this kind of closeness to actually maintain anything. But that also means that they can, they have multiple profiles around the moon, from there to the moon. So they've got a lot of worked up on how it's going to work, because a lunar orbit is not hugely stable. So if they can work it and maybe work Earth's gravity into it, doing some slightly complex orbit. Then,
so why is it not very stable?
Because the moon doesn't have as much gravity to hold it, and Earth is a big gravity well kind of near the moon, so it kind of tugs at stuff.
Ah, okay.
So you have to be really careful with that. But hey, if they can get that going, the good thing about this is that it will, if they get it, it will open up the moon to exploration. It'll open up the moon for launching stuff into space, and it'll open up the moon for supporting getting to the asteroid belt.
Got it.
I think we can skip Mars, because that's just a gravity well that gets in the way of getting to the asteroid belt.
Let's see.
I might have my own opinion on that, but yeah. And this is their own this is the NASA website for it.
Oh, that's beautiful.
They And, they're really Gateway News. So I'm going to pop this one to you. You can always find the wiki. And that's it.
Wow. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And it's good news. I mean, it ups the odds of something actually working. And if we get more than one.
Yeah. And I think that if any failures on here, they're not going to want to be out of the space race. So they're going to then get themselves into partnership with someone. So I suspect that we'll end up with a shakedown of like maybe two, maybe three actual viables, but everyone who is working on other ones will be part of those 2 or 3 would be my guess.
So Dawn says the halo orbit goes around the Lagrange point, orbits close to the South Pole.
Yeah.
Cool.
And the South Pole is where we likely have water ice, so that's a good place to be.
Right. All right, so we're ready for this part?
Yes.
I'm going to tell you about some stellar events this week. We're talking about April 18th through the 25th. April 18th, the moon runs low, and it's Good Friday. That was today. April 19th, the next Globe at Night project begins. This one runs through April 28th. They're 10 days long. You want to look for Leo in the northern hemisphere, and you have a choice in the southern hemisphere of either Canis Major or Crux. April 20th is the last quarter moon, and it's Easter Sunday in the United States. I don't know if everywhere celebrates that. Also, Passover ends.
Well, a lot of places do.
A lot of places do, yeah. So April 21st, Pluto and the moon are in conjunction, and Mercury is at its greatest elongation, western elongation, so it's west of the sun. You're going to look for it in the east in the morning before the sun rises. April 22nd, and it's been a while, we've got the Lyrid meteor shower that runs from April 16th through the 30th, and it peaks around the 22nd. It's like the night 22nd into the 23rd, that kind of thing, because you're going to observe after midnight. And these radiate or appear to radiate from Lyra. The peak rate per hour is 10 to 20. Not super exciting, but yeah, if you want to go out and see a meteor shower, give it a whirl, especially if it's clear and you can find a dark site. Site. The source is Thatcher 1861L. From the calendar, Jeff read to me, Lyrid meteor shower peaks look toward the northeast after midnight. April 22nd is Earth Day in the United States. Do other countries do that? I don't know. April 24th, the moon is at ascending node, and Venus and the moon are in conjunction. In fact, Venus is 2.4 degrees north of the moon. Also, Saturn is 2.3 degrees south of the moon. April 25th, the moon is on the equator. Mercury and the moon are in conjunction. In fact, Mercury is 4.4 degrees south of the moon. And Saturn and the moon are in conjunction, which is weird because, well, we read different things. One's the Farmer's Almanac and one's an astronomy calendar. So it seems like with the one talking about Saturn at, what was it? 2.3 degrees south of the moon, that would be the day, but they're saying it's the next day. So whatever that works. But there's going to be Neptune and the moon in conjunction too. There's going to be quite a few things around there. Oh, and that's the day that they're talking about the smiley face. And that's going to be in the morning, I think, right? Well, Saturn and the moon. Yeah, we'll have to look that up. Also on the 25th is Arbor Day in New Zealand and Australia Anzac Day. I don't really know what Anzac Day is. Maybe Cliff can tell us. Or it was who's the other one from Australia here? Naomi? It's Naomi Wellington. All right, so let's see. What else do we have here? The 25th is also our Friday night show. We're going to revisit a subject from a previous episode because it seems there's been some changes. Hang tight for more on that soon. Find us Fridays at 9 p.m. Pacific time on the Everyday Spacer YouTube channel and the Everyday Spacer Facebook channel. Facebook page, sorry. Yeah.
Cliff says Crux is the Southern Cross. It's on the Australian flag.
Ah, very good.
Okay. I was wondering about that. I mean, why would you have one named Crux and the other one named the Southern Cross? But it's the same thing. Okay.
So what inspires you the most for the coming week? And we'll go down here.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that's you.
If you or someone you know has done something interesting involving space exploration, science, or astronomy, we'd love to share our live. Join us again next Friday, April 25th, where we'll be talking about the Micro Observatory Robotics Telescope Network. Oh, here we go. Cliff's reply. Oh, Janie says Happy Easter.
Oh, Happy Easter, Janie.
Yeah. Cliff says ANZAC, Australian and New Zealand Army Corps. So it's an acronym. Australian and New Zealand Army Corps. So
Got it.
Okay.
Thanks, Cliff.
Yep. Yeah. Don says lots to look forward to in space stations. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah. I want to see which ones actually make it up there.
Who wins?
Well, I think we do. But
everybody will.
Yeah. As long as any of them do, we do.
Yeah, we all do. Yeah.
But I think whatever we see from the U.S., either, I think something around the Earth, something around the Moon, and possibly the Indian station also, and maybe some smaller ones like the initial VAST or, or the Haven, just, some of the initial small ones will probably be up there too. Okay, so
a couple more comments. Thank you very much.
Okay, and
you gonna show them?
Yeah, Cliff says it's it's also known as Remembrance Day, which
Which Naomi echoes. Yeah, Anzac Day.
Yeah.
Sort of like our Memorial Day.
Yeah.
Which we do in May.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, hey, Daniel.
Hey, Daniel.
Oh, glad you were here. And yeah, a lot of good stuff in there, right?
Yeah.
Cool. So Daniel was here. Naomi with Cliff and Dawn and Janie and Scott was back. We missed you.
Yep.
Let's see. Who else do we have here?
You said Naomi, right?
Naomi was here.
Yep. I think that's all who.
I got everybody. Janie Becker.
Yeah. I thought you got her, but yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's everyone.
Thank you, people. We really appreciate you being here. It's always a better show when you are.
Yes.
You help us out tremendously, and we really enjoy bringing you interesting topics like this. In fact, I'm thinking during the show, I was like, ooh, I should do, but I'll tell you later.
Yeah. Thanks, Naomi.
Oh, thank you. Really appreciate that.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I did not know that. All right. Well, have a great week, folks, and we will continue to watch for your comments as well between now and next week, of course. And anything from you?
No.
I think I'm good. Have a great week. Talk to you later. Bye.
Good night.